You're listening to Parents You've Got This, the expert guide to parenthood. The complete guide to fertility, pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. This podcast is proudly supported by Mistela, a natural origin skincare for babies and children, recommended by healthcare professionals. Mistela by Parents Side since 1950.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. You're with Christy and Freya, your parenting experts. Well, we're not really, but we try. That's why we bring on a whole host of the very best experts in the business to share all of their expertise around pregnancy, birth, and the parenting. We also love talking about, the really hard, tough topics that nobody talks about to prepare you, so you've got options about what might be best for your journey. And today is, one of those topics. We're going to be talking about fissures. We're going to be talking about perineal tears and hemorrhoids. So if you're experiencing any of these problems, well, we hope today's episode is really helpful.
Now, we are really excited to welcome back to the podcast mic today Annette Beauchamp, who is our women's health and pelvic physio. Annie has been an amazing support to both Christy and I through our pregnancy and postpartum journeys. She works with women to guide and support them to get back to how they want to be postpartum, and she's just the most beautiful person. So if you're looking for a pelvic physio or a women's health physio, look no further. Annie, thank you so much for being with us today. You come to this conversation with decades of experience, and we are just so thrilled to be able to tap your brain. Let's start first with what anal fissures and hemorrhoids are, because I think we know, but actually do we? Can you tell it to us straight?
Sure. Okay, well, thanks for tackling the big one. All right, so a hemorrhoid, you can think of it as an outpouching of a vein that circles inside the bottom. So it's not a true vein, but you can think of it like that. And it can be internal or external depending on where it is in the bottom. So think of that as a collapse of a vein wall. The fissure is as it's described, so it feels like a tear in the mucosa, and it can extend deeper into the muscle layer. So both give you a little bit of blood, both give you pain. Hemorrhoids are more associated with itch. The level of pain can vary, the symptoms can vary.
Oh, poor women. Why do we get these things? So, Annie, they're more prone, aren't they, to people who are pregnant and in the postpartum period? Why is this?
Okay, so we're back to the hormone story. So estrogen and progesterone, so they make everything softer, and so that increases the softness in the vessel wall, which predisposes us to the hemorrhoids. And it's the extra load on the pelvic floor, the extra weight sitting on top of that vessel. So you've got extra fluid, extra baby, extra uterus muscle, everything. So it's just the load pressing down. Progesterone leads to constipation.
Oh, yes.
So it's softening, and it softens the muscle and connective tissue of the bowel, slows the bowel down, which means the stool can dry out. And then iron during pregnancy can lead to constipation as well. So we're back to what we've got being not quite the great structure, and then what we do with it, the effort pattern, so straining to have a bowel motion. So that's the hemorrhoid story. It's actually quite significant, so it affects about 45% of us at this point in time, yeah. Fissures are different. So fissures can be related to all those same things that the hemorrhoids are related to, but there's another thing too where you can end up with a tight sphincter. So your sphincter is so tight that it's actually difficult to have a bowel motion, and so then you get a tear in the skin just from the increased pressures. Now that's a bit lower, and it's reported quite differently, so 25 to 40%, but together they're described as 45 to 50%. So it depends what you're reading, but I just want everyone to walk away going, gee, this is common.
Yeah, but it's common and let's talk about it. So, Annie, you mentioned before that there are a whole host of symptoms. Can we talk a little bit more about what these might be, what we might be experiencing? Because sometimes we don't necessarily want to get a mirror. It's a little bit hard to angle yourself to see what's going on down there. So what might...
So I do get the mirror out.
What might some of the symptoms be?
All right, so usually what people will notice is discomfort with having a bowel motion. Then they'll notice blood on the toilet paper or drops into the bowl, and itch. So itch is more a feature of hemorrhoids. You can usually feel the lump of the hemorrhoid if the hemorrhoid's on the outside of the sphincter or on the edge of the sphincter. You may not feel a lump if it's on the inside. When people describe hemorrhoid pain, it's more achy. Okay, so think of varicose vein achy, so achy. All right, so fissures are a bit different. So they're more a cut through the mucosal wall that can go deeper into the muscle. So the pain can be insignificant, more like a paper cut, but the pain can be really quite severe if it's down into the muscle, so severe that it stops you from doing what you're doing.
This is where the term pain in the butt comes from.
Probably is.
Yeah, I think so. So, Annie, what do we do about these? How do we get less pain from anal fissures and
hemorrhoids and stop them in the first place? Okay, so it's attention to the basics. So fluids and fibre. So, you know, when you're not pregnant or breastfeeding, you should be having about 1.5 to 2 litres, say. Enough to keep your urine the colour of lemonade would be a good guide, right? So you've got to have adequate fluids. So during pregnancy, by the time you're 9 months pregnant, you probably need about 3 litres of fluid. So you've got to build up quite gradually. Wow. And then you've got to maintain that for the first 6 months of breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's fluids. Fiber's always the same. So fibre is have adequate soluble and insoluble fibre, and it's summarised as 2 fruit, 5 veg and salad, and 5 other sources of roughage, and that includes seeds, grains, nuts, cereals, mueslis, that sort of thing. During pregnancy, that normal amount of fibre might not be enough. You might need additional fibre, which you can eat, or you might choose to have an additional fibre such as psyllium or guar gum, or the over-the-counter medications that include those fibres, okay? And they increase the bulk and the softness of the stool. All right, some people require another chemical called Macrogol, which is sold as Osmolax and Movicol, and they're a fluid-holding chemical, so you're not absorbed into the body. It's not dangerous for you, not dangerous for the baby, and it just helps you have a softer, bigger stool, so it's easier to have. Now, the other big thing is actually timetabling in a poo. So getting up in the morning, aiming to have a poo when your bowel likes to have one. So your peristalsis increases when you wake up and increases after you have your first meal. So it's good to time it for the morning so that you don't have that load on the pelvic floor all day long. Okay, so that's the in a nutshell. Then positioning to have a bowel motion. So, you know, you go into public hospitals, and there's usually into maternity hospitals, and there's usually a picture of a woman having a bowel motion on the back of the toilets. Doors. So that's everywhere. I've included a stick figure for you guys to put on your website.
Thanks.
But it's about sitting tall, straight back, leaning forward, relaxing. So having a big, comfortable sigh to relax your tummy and pelvic floor, and then pushing in a way that doesn't strain the sphincter. So you're giving your bottom muscles the best way of having a bowel motion, okay? If you've got a tall toilet and you're a short person, you're probably going to need something under your feet as well, okay? And so that's why there's toilet stools available, and so you can put a footstool under you while you're having a bowel motion. Shoebox, yoga blocks, toilet rolls, high heels if you get really stuck. Yeah, so, yeah.
Shit shoes. That's where that saying came from.
Want some extra tips to help you navigate parenthood? Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass. Visit www.parentsyouvegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
All of these things said, they're really amazing things we can try at home. When do we need to seek professional support?
Okay, so I'm always the one for, if something's mild, I'll just see where this is going. But the minute that pain or the bother hits me as moderate, I need a plan. And if I can't come up with a good workable plan, I'm going to see someone who's going to help me with one. So you might start with your pharmacist for the medications, or your GP if you're thinking, gee, this is really serious and I need a medical specialist. But your local pelvic physio is a really good person to go to show you how to do that bowel motion, get into the position and have the bowel motion. So, they're probably my top 3 helping people. So I'd start with them.
And when is it a time to have surgery on these issues?
Yep, okay. So really when that level of bother is quite high. So there's a thing here about being pregnant and postnatal. So the surgeons don't want to do surgery on you where it's going to interfere with your pregnancy or your breastfeeding. So if you have surgery and an anaesthetic, it's going to interfere with your breastfeeding in that your pattern will get out of order and you'll probably have to dump milk. And then the medications that they use locally in that area might also mean that you're dumping milk for a couple of days. Okay, so that there's that issue. They also just want to make sure that you have gone through all the basics first before they're doing the surgery. Hemorrhoids, they're probably more likely to operate on if they're numerous or infected or bleeding a heck of a lot. So think half a couple more. Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So then they're more likely to deal with those. Fissures, it's really going to come down to level of pain. So if the pain is severe, they're going to help you out with it. Then it's what do they do at the time. So with the hemorrhoids, they might physically cut them out and stitch them up. They might put a rubber band around them. There's a new procedure to actually reduce the blood supply to that hemorrhoid spot. Okay, so they're the ways they deal with hemorrhoids, but it's really going to depend on what the surgeon thinks is going to benefit you and how many you have. With the fissure, what they actually do is put an incision into the muscle. So when you have really acute, really strong pain, you actually get a muscle spasm. And so then your sphincter really tightens up. So then they put an incision into the sphincter muscle to make it relax. And that reduces pain, makes having a bowel motion easier. But they're always going to try the easy stuff first.
Do you think some of these will just get better, after you've been pregnant and you've given birth naturally?
So hemorrhoids usually pretty much resolve by 6 months. But once again, we're back to what type of tissues do you have? How many did you have? How serious were they? But you can't crystal ball with this. You just have to manage it really well and then just see where they go. But let's say most hemorrhoids are done by 6 months. Fissures, they'll say, it's 3 months. If you're not better, then go see a surgeon. But we're back to what's your level of pain before you do that. But yeah, let's hope they resolve.
Annie, let's talk about perineal tearing and other issues relating to the rectum. Where do you want to start with this?
All right. So most people know about vaginal tears and they're thinking about first degree and second degree. So first degree means through the skin, second degree means through the vaginal tissues themselves. Okay, then there's the more serious third and fourth degree tears, and that involves the anorectal complex, right? So going from the vagina right back into the anus. So third degree ones are described in terms of how far you've torn through the external sphincter, and fourth degree is into and through the anal sphincter and into the canal. So they're both pretty serious and they require surgical repair pretty quickly after birth. There's short-term and long-term consequences. So you have to be really attentive to your fluids, your fibre, the softness of the stool, and then once things have settled down, you're really going to have an in-depth conversation with your birth people, your professionals, as to what you're going to do next time. It's a serious problem, and people who have a third and fourth degree tear, particularly a fourth degree tear, are probably going to have a team of health professionals in their life for 6 to 12 months. It's rare though, right? Oh, rare is the wrong word. Sorry, it's uncommon. So it's Probably 3%, so it's 3 in 100, less than 1 in 20. It's pretty high though when you think of how many people give birth in a year.
Well, thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. We have a whole host of different episodes on all the topics that we don't normally talk about. And today's takeaway is to go and speak up. If you are experiencing any of these problems or pain, go and see Annie from She Physio. She's got lots of tips and tricks to actually really help you. And also check out our library of episodes on other important topics that you need to know about.
A huge thanks to Mustela for sponsoring this episode. Did you know that Mustela is not only for babies and children? Mustela also has a range of maternity products like the 100% certified organic Stretch Marks oil, Stretch Marks cream, and the certified organic lanolin-free nipple balm made up of 100% natural ingredients and dermatologist tested. Mustela is our family's favourite.
You've been listening to the Expert Guide to Parenthood podcast. Never forget, parents, you've got this.
Join a Parents You've Got This masterclass today to be prepared, excited and educated for pregnancy, birth, baby and parenthood. Visit www.parentsyou'vegotthis.com.au and sign up for a masterclass today.
The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and is intended to support, not replace, a discussion with your doctor or healthcare professional. Parents You've Got This take no responsibility for any medical decisions made by individuals based on the information provided in this podcast.